Imagine setting sail on a routine journey across the Atlantic, but then you see something really strange. No crew, no sign of a struggle, no explanation. Just an empty vessel drifting aimlessly through the sea. What happened aboard the Mary Celeste? One of the greatest maritime mystery of all time. Was it a terrible accident, a sinister crime, or something that still defies all explanations? On December 4th, 1872, a merchant brigantine named the Mary Celeste was found adrift in the Atlantic Ocean. There was no crew on board, no sign of a struggle, and no clear explanation of what had happened. The ship's cargo, personal belongings, and even the captain's logbook were intact, but the 10-man's crew had vanished without any trace. Today, we dive into the eerie and perplexing mystery of the Mary Celeste, one of the greatest maritime mystery in history. What happened to the ship? Why was it abandoned? And where did the crew go? The Mary Celeste was a typical merchant ship of that era, a sturdy vessel with a solid reputation for making voyages across the Atlantic. The ship was carrying a cargo of industrial alcohol bound for Genoa, Italy from New York. The captain, Benjamin Briggs, was an experienced seaman, known for his caution and diligence. His crew was made up of seasoned sailors, and his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia, were also aboard the ship, making it a family voyage. The Mary Celeste left New York on November 7, 1872, on what seemed to be a routine voyage. Captain Briggs had made all the necessary preparations for the journey, and the ship's departure was usual. There was nothing to tell that the voyage would end in mystery. But what was supposed to be just a standard transatlantic crossing turned into an unsolved enigma. A month later, on December 4th, the Mary Celeste was discovered by the Dei Gratia, another ship on its way to Gibraltar. The Dei Gratia's captain, David Morehouse, spotted the Mary Celeste sailing erratically, drifting in the waters about 400 miles off the coast of Portugal. It was a puzzling sight. The ship was fully intact, but there were no signs of life abroad. The sails were set, but the ship was drifting aimlessly. Morehouse and his crew boarded the Mary Celeste and found it abandoned. There was no trace of the crew or passengers, and the ship's only remaining lifeline, the ship's log, was mysteriously cut short. What was most strange was that Mary Celeste was in perfect condition. The cargo was intact, and there were no signals of violence or struggle. The ship's food and water supplies were plentiful. The crew's belongings, including their personal items and valuables, were still on board. Even Captain Briggs' own logbook, which was carefully maintained up to the moment of abandonance, offered no clue as to what really happened. The only entry that seemed out of place was the last one, made about 10 days before the ship was found, noting a strange incident. What did this mean? What a strange incident could have caused a fully crewed ship to suddenly be abandoned? The only real clue was the state of the ship's lifeboat. The small boat had been removed from the side of the ship, and there was a rope attached to it, indicating it had been used. But it wasn't missing. The crew, it seemed, had taken the lifeboat, but why did they leave the ship in such a rush? And what was so urgent that they would abandon a perfectly functional vessel? As soon as the word spread about the Mary Celeste, theories began to emerge. What had happened to the captain's Briggs, his wife, their young daughter, and the rest of the crew? Was there a supernatural explanation? Was there a more grounded, albeit sinister cause? One theory that quickly gained traction was that the crew had been victims of piracy. It made sense at first. Ships often carried valuable cargo, and the Mary Celeste was no exception. But there was one major problem with this theory. The ship was found intact. Nothing of value had been stolen. In fact, the cargo hold was still full, and the ship's captain's personal effects were left behind. Piracy, it seemed, wasn't the answer. Another possibility was that the crew had encouraged a sudden, violent storm. Perhaps a freak weather event had caused the ship to be temporarily damaged, and the crew had been forced to abandon ship for its safety. Yet, when investigators examined the ship's logs and the state of the vessel, there was no sign of significant damage. The ship had not been hit by a storm or any other natural disaster that would explain the need to abandon it. Then there is the theory that Captain Briggs had somehow gone mad, causing him to abandon the ship in a fit of panic. Some suggest that the captain's mental state had been deteriorating, and this had led to a mass panic among the whole crew. But there is a little evidence to support this claim. Captain Briggs had been an experienced and level-headed sailor, and the crew had always respected him. Why would he suddenly lose control of the situation? A more plausible theory suggests that the crew had somehow been poisoned by an alcohol cargo. The Mary Celeste was carrying a large shipment of industrial alcohol, and it's been suggested that the flames from the cargo could have caused the hallucinations or even poisoned the crew. But once again, there is no conclusive evidence. The ship's cargo was intact, and there was no sign that the alcohol had been tampered with. So, what if the crew didn't leave by choice at all? What if they were forced off the ship? One theory that has gained attention over the years is that the Mary Celeste was the victim of the mutiny. Could have there been a conflict between the crew and Captain Briggs that led to the abandonment of the ship? But once again, there is no evidence to support this theory. The crew had no obvious motive to turn against the captain, and nothing in the ship's condition suggests a violent confrontation. In a more fantastical vein, some have suggested that the disappearance of the Mary Celeste could be linked to paranormal forces. Over the years, many have speculated that the ship was cursed. The idea of a haunted ship adrift on the ocean without a crew has captured the imaginations of many. But while this theory is compelling for those drawn in the supernatural, there is no tangible evidence to support the notion that the ship was cursed or the paramount forces were involved. And yet, there are still other strange ideas. Some believe that the Mary Celeste's crew may have been the victims of mysterious and unknown disease, which caused them to abandon the ship in the state of panic. But again, no signs of illness were found on board, and the idea of an outbreak of an unknown disease remain highly speculative. The disappearance of Mary Celeste remain one of the most perplexing mysteries in maritime history. No theory has ever fully explained the event that led to crew's abandon of the ship. And while we may never know for certain what happened that fateful day, the case continues to spark fascination and speculations to this day. Was it an accident, a mutiny, or perhaps something far more sinister? The unanswered question surrounding the Mary Celeste leave us with no concrete answers, only the haunting sense of mystery. Whatever the truth may be, the story of the Mary Celeste is one that will continue to intrigue us for generations to come. What do you think happened? Was it the work of nature, human error, or something more unexplainable? Comment below with your thoughts and theories, because sometimes the truth behind a mystery can be more elusive than we ever imagined. Thank you for watching. Until next time, keep questioning the world around you and never stop searching for the truth.